Welcome back everyone. So I've had quite a big win with the 4Runner. I finally managed to solve the overdrive issue, and all it was in the end was one temperature sensor. Now it was the most expensive temperature sensor I've ever bought. I believe on these cars they're called temp detect number 2, and it was well over $100. It was probably about $130, $140. Took me a long time to track it down. I had to go to Japan, or not physically go to Japan, but I had to order it from Japan, and a lot of the companies that said they had it, I would order it, pay the money, and then get an email saying, no, sorry, actually we don't have it, here's your refund. Eventually I found a company that again said they had it, then came back to me and said, we don't have it, but we've put in an order direct from Toyota and the part's on its way. So I was patient, I waited, and lo and behold it turned up. I've actually replaced pretty much all the temp sensors except for one, which is the one that controls the cold start injector. I didn't worry about that one, but I replaced the thermostat, I replaced all the temp sensors and the temp sender for the gauge, and took it for a drive, and overdrive is working beautifully. Kicks in at highway speeds just like it should, and it's a good thing. The only issue I'm having now is the gauge never used to go sort of above halfway, the temp gauge, and now it's going considerably higher. And a couple of reasons this could be. One is that I've got a faulty temp gauge, which I think I actually do have a slightly faulty temp gauge. The thermostat I put in is either faulty right off the bat as a brand new thermostat. I don't think it's faulty, but it is a higher temp thermostat. I put in an 89 degree thermostat, and the one that came out was an 82 degree. It's only a 7 degrees Celsius difference, but it might make a difference, it might not. So I've just installed a new Daco style 82 degree thermostat, put that in. I'll play some footage in a minute, because I sort of went down a bit of a rabbit hole because I did the thermostat, and I'm having a bit of trouble with the cooling system now. I thought, I've got a brand new water pump, I've got some other brand new bits, brand new radiator hoses. Why don't I just change it all out, make sure everything's good to go? Because as soon as this car gets registered, and I have it booked in on the 2nd of December, so about 2 weeks from now, it's booked in to have its rego inspection and hopefully pass and get on the road. And as soon as this car's on the road, we're off. We're going camping and four-wheel driving and fishing and all that sort of stuff. So it makes sense to replace these parts now, so I know when I go out bush and I go, you know, driving down the beaches and that I've got a brand new water pump, new hoses, new bits and pieces. So I've already attacked it. I've got the water pump off, got the radiator out and all that sort of stuff, and I'll play some footage. So here's some footage catching you up to where we're at now, and I'll catch back up with you in a minute. Alright, so these are the temp switches or temp sensors that I've replaced. So there's this one here. I believe that is referred to as temp detect 1, but I'm not positive on that. This one over the back here, that I believe is one that talks to or controls or helps control the EFI. This one down here, that's the one that I think is called temp detect 2, and I believe that's the one that was giving us all the issues. And by replacing that, I now have overdrive functioning again, and that's the temp sender for the gauge. So I replaced that, and the connector was all buggered, so I've just crimped on a new spade connector. But like I said, now I'm having gauge issues where well, I kind of already was having gauge issues. If you turn the car on, like just turn the key on to accessories, my temp gauge would go straight up to half without the car even running, and cold, stone cold. So I kind of feel like there was a fault in the gauge or a short somewhere, and then when you start the car or give the dash a tap, the needle would drop back down to zero, back down to cold. So I do believe there's something wrong with the gauge. Alright, so as you can see, the radiator's out. I've made a big mess. The water pump is out. We're just about to replace that. I'm ready for the new one to go back in. I had to cut this transcooler hose just because the clamp that attached it to the radiator was buggered and I couldn't get it off. So I've cut that, but I have new oil line or oil cooler hose line, so I will replace both of those. There's one here as well for driver's side of the radiator, and then this one connects to the passenger side of the radiator, so I'll replace both of those. And then some new, like a brand new top radiator hose will go on, brand new bottom radiator hose, and she should be sweet. I'll give the radiator a good flush while it's out as well, and that should really mean that the cooling system is in the best possible sort of starting place when it gets registered. I don't think there's anything wrong with the water pump that I took off. It feels good. I expected it to be rusty as hell when I took it off, just based on other parts, like the heater tap was all rusted out when I replaced that. So I don't know if the the water pump had been replaced at some point, but it looks good and it feels good when you spin the vanes and that. So I'm going to keep that as a spare just in case, because this water pump I am replacing it with is unfortunately a fairly cheap Chinese water pump. Looks alright, feels alright, but we'll see how it performs. I might try and track down a genuine Toyota water pump, but like I said, I don't really want to spend too much money on this engine. I just want to keep it going because eventually this will be getting an engine conversion. So, but I don't want anything failing on me when I'm miles away, you know, out on a beach and get stranded somewhere. So we'll get stuck into putting this water pump back on, getting the car back together. I'm going to clean up a few things. Basically everything that I've taken out, I'll give it a good clean before it goes back in and spruce her up a little bit. Ready for rego inspection in 2 weeks' time. So anyway, let's get stuck into it. Alright, so I've got the water pump gasket here, and I'm just going to put some of this gasket dressing and sealant on both sides of the gasket, and then we'll fit up this water pump. Oh, that came out a bit faster than I was expecting. Just make sure we get a good coating on both sides. Very, very sticky, tacky stuff. Alright, now that goes on like that. You're probably not going to be able to see this bit, but alright, that's all lined up. I'm just going to quickly wash my hands and then we'll stick the water pump on. Alright, here is the new water pump. It's an OEX brand. Looks good, feels okay. Doesn't turn as freely as the old one, but I'm hoping that's just a new bearing. Feels good. It's just, yeah, a little bit stiffer. Now that goes on like that. These are 12mm, and there are long ones and short ones. So when you take it off, make sure you remember where the long ones go and where the short ones go. I'm just tightening them up very gently. I'm not putting any real pressure on them yet. I've also got this bolt here which connects the alternator bracket. Okay, well it doesn't actually specify with the water pump, but on the adjuster bracket bolt for the alternator it says 39 Newton meters. So where is my torque wrench? Here it is. Alright, so now we will put the studs into this plate so we can mount the pulley. Then we can start putting belts back on. I didn't mention before, but I actually have new belts for this as well. So good bit of preventative maintenance, and I'm going to feel a lot better hitting the beaches and the bush tracks with all fresh belts, fresh water pump, fresh hoses. It's going to be a good thing. Just going to use a little bit of blue Loctite on these studs because I don't want them backing out. Alright, so time to put the fan clutch back on. Like I said, this still feels pretty good, so probably wouldn't have hurt to get a new one, but alright, so I'll tighten those up and then we'll get the belts on before we get too carried away. Alright, let's get these belts on and then we can adjust the tensioner pulley and the alternator. Alright, so this drive belt, the flat belt is the first one that needs to go on. And that is going to do the water pump, crankshaft and alternator. Get it over the crank, pulley, and then lift this alternator up. There we go. 3 brand new belts. It's a good thing. Next will be fan, then the fan shroud, then radiator, then hoses. Alright, so let's bolt the fan up. I cleaned the fan up in the sink and it came up a treat. Alrighty, fan. Fan on. Okay, so far we've got new thermostat and new gasket, new water pump gasket, new drive belt, new air compressor belt, new power steering belt, fans back on. I'm going to clean the fan shroud and then sit in on, and then I'm going to give the radiator a flush just with a hose and we can get that in. Alright, let's get into that. Alright, the radiator has had a good blowout. I actually used the proper handpiece that you plug the hose and the compressed air into, and yeah, it's had a good blow through. Nothing but crystal clean water coming out of it now, so that's good. So we'll bolt that back in. Oh, I need the shroud. Needed to get the shroud on first. So I didn't realise until just now when I was cleaning the shroud, it's actually a 2-piece shroud, and there's these 2 little clips here, so you can remove this bottom piece, and I'm assuming then you can just slide the shroud off without having to remove the radiator. But because mine's already out, just going to drop it in there, sit it over like that. There we go. Get the radiator tabs to sit in their little holes. That's that one. That's that one. Alright, so get these radiator bolts in. Right, now I've just got to find the one that fell out. Right, fan shroud. Fan shroud on. Alright, time for the new radiator hoses. Beautiful, top new radiator hose. Now I'll do the bottom hose. Alright, so pissing down with rain here at the moment, so hopefully you can hear me okay. So, new thermostat, new water pump, all new drive belts, all new hoses. Radiator has had a really good flush. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm going to top this up with coolant, burp the system and see how we go. I don't think any of this is going to solve the gauge issue, because that is a gauge issue. I think the gauge is still faulty, but I'm hoping with the 82-degree thermostat and everything else we've done, it's just going to guarantee that the engine's running cool. And then when my gauge gets here, because I have ordered a brand new digital water temp gauge from Just Race Parts, and that should be here in the next day or two, I'll slap that on and that'll give me an exact reading on the water temp. So anyway, let's get some fresh coolant in this and go from there. Alright, so everything's back on and tightened up. I've just replaced the two trans cooler hoses to the radiator, so I'll check the trans cooler levels, the transmission fluid levels as well, but we'll get some coolant into it, get it started, burp the system, and we'll be able to see pretty quick whether these belts are tensioned correctly and if we're going to have any leaks out of the water pump. Fingers crossed. Alright, put the battery cable back on. Well, that was an epic fail. Did up one of the trans cooler lines by the looks of it, but didn't do up the second one, so I've just pumped tranny fluid all over my shed floor. Awesome. Back to you in a minute. Alright, what an absolute mess under this car. Let's try that again. Hopefully this time everything's done up. So far so good. I'm really going to have to clean up the floor and then have it come back in here and run on a clean dry floor so I can see if there's any fresh leaks. Alright, I might just back the car up a little bit, turn it off, top up the transmission fluid level because I know that's going to be low now, clean up this floor, and then I can bring it back in and we can let it run for a while.
One eternity later.
Alright guys, so that's the cooling system done. I've just given the car a quick wash, ready for tomorrow when it goes over the pits for inspection. I'm pretty hopeful. She's running sweet, got no leaks that I can see, and it's pretty clean underneath, so yeah, we'll see. The only two things that I reckon might hold me back would be the wiper blades. I'm hoping I can get later this afternoon some fresh wiper blades for it, and the LED indicators that I put in the front bar, I'll show you those, have caused hyper flash, so fast flashing. I have ordered some new globe indicators to go in there, but they haven't arrived yet, so I don't know whether hyper flashing's a problem. I mean, they're still flashing, they're just flashing faster than normal, so I kind of don't think that would be a reason to hold it from getting registered. But anyway, so all I've got to do to her now is I just need to wash the bash plate because it's been sitting in the shed getting dusty. So I'll wash the bash plate and bolt that back on, and she's ready to go over the pits tomorrow. So fingers crossed, in the next video this thing will be registered and we'll be planning our first trip. Yeah, I can't wait. Can't come around soon enough. I've been doing shed episode after shed episode, and I want to get out to the beach and do some fishing, four-wheel driving. So need to start testing the four-wheel drive system on this and just, you know, finding out where the weak points are. First time on the road in probably 5 years, and it's a 30-plus-year-old car. So yeah, just need to find out, you know, how everything's going, how the transfer case is going, the diffs and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully no breakages. I'm not going to be pushing it too hard. I'm not going to be throwing it up, you know, insane rock crawling tracks. Just regular sort of beach stuff, light duty tracks. It is an IFS car. This is not going to be my off-road weapon. This is going to be like a weekend warrior type thing. So yeah, pretty light duty stuff, but looking forward to it. I'll just spin you around. I don't know if it's just the way the car's parked or if it's just me even, but I feel like she's sagging in the arse a bit. See if you can pick it up. What do you reckon, Nova? I think I might need some new rear suspension. I mean, I'm going to put new suspension on it all round anyway, eventually. And I may go, I don't want to go too high, but I reckon just a touch, and you can't go too high with the IFS front end anyway. You know, you can pretty much only get 45mm out of that max, and then you're putting your CVs on a pretty nasty angle. So yeah, I think just a tiny lift, I reckon just enough to get 32s on it would be sweet. And then we get some side steps that tuck up a bit higher. Like they're good side steps for getting in and out of the car, no problems at all. They offer zero protection, but once I eventually get an ARB deluxe winch bar on the front. I'll probably try and get some ARB brush rails and side steps on it, and they'll just tuck up nice and neat. Otherwise, I'll just run the ARB bar, no brush rails, and just build my own sill protection, side steps and rock sliders. And then the rear bar, I need to get that spare out. I couldn't get my good spare under there because it's on one of these Surf or 4Runner rims, and the little plate, that hook that sits under the rim and then winches it up, won't go in that wheel. It will only go in the steel wheel spare. So I've had to put the shit spare under there. So that may also be a problem with pit inspection. They may deem the spare to be not good enough, which is not a major problem. I can take the spare off that rim, put my good tyre on that rim, yada yada, but we'll see how we go anyway. And then the fun begins. Once it's registered, I can start doing all the fun stuff, obviously trips, but the second it's registered, I've got a brand new Light Force dual row light bar to go on it. I've got a GME two-way that I've had in the shed for years. I haven't even taken it out of its box yet, so that'll be going on. And then we'll be going fishing. Before I do too much to it, I just want to get it on the beach and take it fishing. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for sticking around this long, and fingers crossed she passes the pits and we can start going on some adventures. Get this 4Runner on the beach where she belongs. So anyway, give the video a like if you're liking this series on the 4Runner so far. Subscribe if you want to see more, and thanks again for watching, guys. Take care. We'll see you in the next one.